Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video we are going to start a very important topic for UPSC Prelims and both mains, for Prelims and mains. So this topic, irrigation from agriculture, we'll be dividing this topic into 3 videos. I will record 3 videos for this topic. In the first video we'll discuss what is irrigation and surface methods of irrigation. Then we'll discuss subsurface and micro irrigation in the second video, and in the last video we will discuss fertigation. So there will be 3 videos for this particular topic. So let us first start with uh, prelims PYQ. So this was asked in prelims. So if you can see, this is regarding micro irrigation. Okay, so drip irrigation. So they are asking what are the advantages. Which of the following are the advantage or advantages of practicing drip irrigation? So what are the advantages of drip irrigation? So they will give you few statements and you have to pick the choose one. So you have to pick the correct one. So it reduces weeds. So reduction in the weeds, reduction in the soil salinity, and reduction in soil erosion. So first two statements are correct. It reduces the weed because we are applying water in the form of drops directly near the plant, so we are not flooding or we are not wetting the entire field, so weeds will be reduced. Weeds also require water. So first statement is true. Second statement, reduction in soil salinity, it is not true. It does not reduce salinity. And third statement, it reduces soil erosion. Obviously we are applying in the form of drops, so there is no runoff, so soil will not be moving from one place to another place, so there is no erosion. Okay, so first and third statements are true, 1 and 3. So this is your answer. So you will know this, you will be able to answer this once we are done with micro irrigation, so that will be a separate video. Okay, so there we'll discuss sprinkler and drip irrigation. What are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, where in what cases we use those irrigation methods. Okay, so this was a PYQ. There is also a PYQ on fertigation, so that is also we'll discuss that topic also in a separate video. Okay, so let us start with irrigation. What is irrigation? We'll discuss those things. So what are the things that we are going to discuss? So first of all, we'll discuss what is irrigation systems, method, और difference क्या है उनके बीच में, systems of irrigation and method of irrigation. Now what is irrigation system and method of irrigation? Then different methods of irrigation. So surface method, where we apply the water on the surface of the soil. Subsurface, where we directly apply the water beneath the soil. And micro irrigation, where we'll discuss both sprinkler and drip irrigation methods. So we'll discuss this in the first video, these 3 things. Then subsurface and micro irrigation, this will be a separate video, second video. And fertigation is, will deal this topic in third video. So there will be 3 videos where we'll be discussing irrigation. Okay, so let us start. First, let us start with what is irrigation, right? Systems and methods of irrigation. So in simple words, irrigation is artificial application of water for crop production or to plants. Artificial application. So why we are saying artificial application? Natural application is through rain. So soil water mainly is applied through rain. So wherever the rainwater is not sufficient for crop production, we apply additional water, supplement the rainwater with irrigation water. So irrigation water, rainwater may not be sufficient for the crop production. So for the entire period of crop growth, so it might be 3 months or 4 months, so the rainfall will not be sufficient. So additional water which is applied through artificial application, it is called as irrigation. So irrigation is the artificial application to the soil for successful crop production. Okay, so where crop production is done under the rainfall, under natural application of water under the rainfall, it is called as rain-fed farming, rain-fed agriculture. Okay. So irrigation water is applied to supplement the water available from rainfall. So rainfall is the main source of soil water. Then where the field is near a canal or river, there is also additional contribution, or where the groundwater table is very high, through capillary action, water may raise to the upper levels of the soil, where water is also made available through underground water or through seepage from canals or river, where your agricultural field is present near any water source. So water can also be contributed through groundwater or through seepage when the field is nearby any canal or any water reservoir or any other water source, right? So mainly water is applied through rain. When it is not sufficient, additional water that we supply is called as irrigation. So amount of irrigation water should be such that it should not have any adverse effects on the crop growth. So if you apply excess water, so there will be restriction of aeration. So what the soil will be flooded. So addition extra water जब तुम excessive water apply करते हो तो it might have adverse effects on the crop, right? Because there will be waterlogging, the roots will not be able to get enough oxygen. So irrigation water should be applied in such amount that it will be sufficient for the crop growth, but excess water जब apply करते हो तो it can have adverse effects. Insufficient irrigation होगा तो भी crop growth proper नहीं होगा, there will be deficiency symptoms because nutrients are also taken through water. So insufficient irrigation is also harmful, excessive irrigation is also harmful. So it should be applied in such amount that it is enough for proper growth of the crop. So throughout the world, there are many places where rainfall is insufficient for the crop growth. So irrigation, different systems and methods of irrigation are used to supplement the water to the crops. So because rainfall is not enough. Now, systems and methods of irrigation. So when we say systems, so it encompasses all the infrastructure, the equipment, the canals, right, and methods. So systems में all the infrastructure falls within this particular term. So infrastructure जो भी है तुम्हारे पास, canals है, जो भी तुम्हारे dams है, सब कुछ, including the equipment, okay, and method, how you are applying to the soil, वो सब तुम्हारे system में आता है. Methods of irrigation is bit narrow term, where it includes only how you are applying water. Surface method use कर रहे हो, subsurface method या micro irrigation method से तुम apply कर रहे हो. So how you apply the water to the soil, it is method of irrigation. Systems of irrigation में it is very broad term जिसमें पूरा infrastructure, तुम्हारा equipment, everything, design of irrigation में सब कुछ आता है, ठीक है. दोनों में थोड़ा सा difference है. System encompasses everything including infrastructure, equipment, everything. Method of irrigation is how you are applying the water to the soil. Surface method, subsurface method or micro irrigation, okay. So the design फील्ड को तुम कैसे डिवाइड कर रहे हो, तो डिजाइन द इक्विपमेंट एंड द टेक्निक ऑफ रिप्लेनिशिंग द सॉइल वाटर डेफिसिट by applying irrigation water is called as irrigation system. So system is a broad word, उसमें पूरा infrastructure, the design, the equipment, everything comes under this particular term. Particularly how you are applying जो technique है, that is the method of irrigation, only technique. So the system adopted for irrigation must ensure a uniform distribution of water in the root zone. So insufficient irrigation भी नहीं होना चाहिए, excess application भी नहीं होना चाहिए, because it can have adverse effects, right? So optimum water supply should be there. So there should be minimum or no wastage of water either through surface runoff or through deep percolation below the root zone. Now, whatever technique you use to apply water to the soil, you should ensure that there is minimum wastage. Okay, so application efficiency should be higher, water application efficiency. So you should make sure that percolation means if you apply excess water and your soil is bit lighter. Light soil का मतलब है ज्यादा sandy soil है, so water will quickly enter into the soil and it will go down beyond the root zone. So water should be present near the root zone so that the plants can absorb it. अगर root zone के beyond चले जाएगा, if it goes beyond the root zone, it is unavailable for the plants. So you have to make sure that excess there should not be any wastage of water, right? So skill of the person, the labor who is applying irrigation, it is also important. So excess runoff, अगर excess water apply करते हो, ज़्यादा force से तुम्हारा water जाता है field के अंदर, then there will be erosion also. Soil will move from one part to another part. You might have observed this. स्कूल में playgrounds में देखा होगा, फुटबॉल के ग्राउंड में अगर थोड़ा सा स्लोप है तो all the soil particles will go near the goal post. गोल पोस्ट के पास ज्यादा excess water ज्यादा जमा हो जाता है, so all the soil particles, they will be moving from upper regions to the low lying areas. So you have to make sure that minimum water is wasted. So through irrigation minimum water wastage होना चाहिए. I mean जितना कम होगा उतना अच्छा है. Okay, wastage should be minimum. So micro irrigation is considered as best when it comes to application efficiency. So minimum wastage of water is there in the micro irrigation, जहाँ पर drip and sprinkler irrigation methods, they fall under micro irrigation, where minimum water is wasted and maximum irrigation application efficiency is there. Application efficiency is higher. Now directly let us jump into the different methods of application. So surface irrigation system. So surface, subsurface, micro irrigation. So we'll discuss surface methods first in this particular video. So surface method, subsurface and micro irrigation. Surface method is where directly we are applying the water on the surface or top of the soil, where water will be distributed through gravity. Subsurface, we are directly applying the water near the root zone. Okay, root zone में below the soil, we are not applying on the surface ताकि evaporation losses कम होते हैं यहाँ पर. Through pipes or through tiles will make small holes and water is directly applied near the root zone. Then micro irrigation में we have sprinkler and drip irrigation. So first we will deal with surface irrigation methods, where water is applied directly on the surface and water is distributed through gravity. So from higher end, okay, so there should be a gradient, थोड़ा 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree slope होना चाहिए. So because gravity will act when there is slope, right? So the channel or the field ditch, जो तुम्हारा field में channel है, water is applied through the channel, it should be at the higher end so that water can go to the lower end of the field through gravity. So in surface irrigation, water is directly applied to the surface of the soil and spread by gravity flow. यहाँ पर जो main force है, which is allowing the water to distribute through the field, is gravity. Gravity की वजह से तुम्हारा water uniformly field में distribute होता है. So through the gravity flow along the slope of the land. So there should be gradient. अगर flat है तुम्हारा, flat तो कहीं पर भी होता नहीं है, but थोड़ा बहुत gradient होना चाहिए. There should be a little bit of slope so that water can move from upstream to downstream. Okay, slope ज्यादा होगा तो again there is a chance of erosion. So slope ज्यादा भी नहीं होना चाहिए. Slope should be optimum 1-2 degrees, 3 degrees. बहुत जगह पर slope ज्यादा भी होता है तो there is chance of erosion there. Now surface irrigation systems, again surface irrigation method is again divided into two types. Complete flooding, where the entire field is surface of the soil is made wet, and partial flooding, where only part of the surface is made wet. Okay, पूरा surface गीला नहीं होता, only part of the field is made wet. So partial flooding में we have furrow irrigation methods. Commonly it is used. So complete flooding mein we have wild flooding, border strip method and check basin. We will discuss these three. And partial flooding mein we use furrow irrigation. So ridges and furrows are made with the help of equipment, and in the furrow we'll apply water. So if you see, ऐसे ridges and furrows बनाते हैं. So this is ridge and this is furrow. So water is applied through the furrows. And again ये upstream है, ये downstream है. In surface irrigation method, gravity is the main force for distribution of water. तो अपस्ट्रीम से डाउनस्ट्रीम की तरफ तुम्हारा ग्रेविटी की वजह से वाटर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होता है. ओके, सो फर्स्ट अंडर complete flooding is wild flooding. So in wild flooding it is very simple. The field, there is field channel at the upstream and you will just open the bund. So तुम्हारे पास जो equipment है फार्म में, इस तरह का एक equipment होता है जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं फावड़ा बोलते हो. स्पेड बोलते हैं हम लोग या फावड़ा बोलते हैं, जिससे the skilled worker will open the bund, the farmer or the skilled worker will open the bund and from the field ditch, so this is your channel, suppose इसमें water जा रहा है and this is your field. So he will open the bund, water flowing in the bund, water flowing in the ditch will enter into the field and there should be slope in this direction, तभी तुम्हारा water distribute होगा. Okay, so from higher end to lower end, from upstream to downstream, water will flow in your field. All right, so in this method water is allowed to flow from the field ditch या field channels, नाली है basically field channel, into the field without any restriction. So we'll just open the bund and water will flow into the field. So it looks something like this, इस तरह से तुमने bund यहाँ पर open कर दिया and water will flow into the field. So इसको बोलते हैं wild flooding. So there should be enough water flow, तुम्हारा pressure जो है enough होना चाहिए. So there should be large quantities of, अभी इसमें एक disadvantage भी है, there is lot of water loss through evaporation, through percolation. Okay, so इसके disadvantages बहुत हैं because excess water, you need to have a large water source and there are additional water losses through evaporation and percolation. Again it depends upon the soil. So if the water is allowed to flow very quickly over the surface, again we are going bit deeper. So soil, climate, the type of crop, all of these factors are very important. Soil भी determine करता है तुम कौन सा method of irrigation use कर रहे हो. Climate, तुम्हारा irrigation frequency, right, irrigation scheduling, कितने दिन के बीच में तुम irrigation करोगे, 4 days का gap दोगे, 3 days का gap दोगे, depends upon the climate. If evaporation losses are too much, then you have to apply the irrigation more frequently. If evaporation losses are less, then 7 days का gap दे सकते हो, depending upon the soil and the crop. Crop also, depending upon what type of crop you are growing, some crops require more water, some crops require less water. So all these factors play a role. So when you are opening the ditch and allowing the water to enter into the field, if you stop the water very quickly, again water is allowed into the field. अगर तुम बहुत जल्दी बंद कर दोगे, depending upon अगर पूरा field गीला हो गया है, if there is higher slope, water will flow very quickly from the higher end to lower end. So if water flows very quickly, it is just wetting the, ये suppose ये soil है तुम्हारा, okay, ये soil depth है, so only surface, near the surface it will be wet. Lower region जहाँ पर root zone है वो wet नहीं होगा. If you allow the water to flow very quickly from one end to another end, less water will percolate, which will wet only the upper surface. पूरा soil गीला नहीं होगा. it will not go to the deeper part. Then the less amount will percolate into the soil. Whereas if you allow to flow the water for very long time, यानी बहुत टाइम ले रहा है पानी जाने के लिए, स्लोप कम है तुम्हारा, 1 डिग्री स्लोप है या 2 डिग्री स्लोप है, so water is taking a lot of time to wet the whole field. So then what will happen? Suppose ये हाई एंड है, यहाँ से तुम्हारा वाटर एंटर हो रहा है, सो इफ इट इज मूविंग वेरी स्लोली, बहुत स्लो जा रहा है, इसका मतलब क्या है? लॉट ऑफ वाटर इज पर्कुलेटिंग इनटू द सॉइल, सॉइल के अंदर जा रहा है बहुत पानी, तो यहाँ से यहाँ पर कवर करने के लिए बहुत टाइम लगेगा इसको. So it will take more time to wet the entire field and more water will be lost through percolation. So soil पे भी डिपेंड करता है, तुम्हारा सॉइल ज्यादा क्लेई सॉइल है या तुम्हारा ज्यादा सॉइल जो है वो सैंडी है, लाइट सॉइल है या हेवी सॉइल है, उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा. डिपेंड, फार्मर आल्सो नोज द नेचर ऑफ द सॉइल. So experience, skill of the labor or the farmer is also very important in this. So if the water is kept on the soil for too long, water will percolate, it will go deeper and it will be lost, it will go beyond the root zone. So बहुत ज्यादा देर के लिए भी नहीं रखना चाहिए, बहुत जल्दी भी बंद करना नहीं चाहिए. हाँ, you should allow the water for sufficient time to enter into the field and wet the entire field. So it depends upon the soil also, climate, crop, skill of the worker, everything comes into play. So in this method, smoothness of the land surface and attention and skill of the irrigator is very important. तो अगर तुम्हारा फील्ड जो है, if it is very smooth, हाँ, बट देर शुड बी स्लोप ऑल्सो, स्लोप भी होना चाहिए ताकि वाटर मूव करे फ्रॉम हायर एंड टू लोअर एंड, बट द फील्ड शुड बी स्मूथ. अगर फील्ड स्मूथ नहीं है, ऐसा है कहीं पर तुम्हारा डिप्रेशन है, कहीं एलिवेशन है, तो वाटर विल स्टे इन दीज डिप्रेशन. सो फील्ड शुड बी स्मूथ इनफ. So you have to prepare the field, you have to remove the any elevations or depressions in the field. So this is your wild flooding. So इसमें disadvantages mainly ये है कि बहुत ज्यादा पानी होना चाहिए. So if you have canal nearby या river है, right, dam है बड़ा, तो obviously or near the delta regions, this method can be used where there is excess water to waste. In drier areas ये method use नहीं कर सकते. Okay, यहाँ पर बहुत ज्यादा water loss होता है. Then second method under complete flooding is border strip method. Now in this method there is additional field preparation. So तुम्हारा जो agricultural field है, it will be further divided into narrow strips. Suppose this is your field, okay, so you will divide the field into narrow strips. So this is one strip, this is another strip. So these strips are divided by bunds. So ये तुम्हारा bund है, right, इस तरह से यहाँ पर तुम देख सकते हो. So this is one strip, this is second strip, this is third strip. So your field will be divided into strips. Now these strips also have dimensions. So strip का जो width है, it should be 10 to 20 meters, 10 meter, 12 meter, 15 meter, 20, 10 to 20 meters के बीच में होना चाहिए. And जो length है, it is somewhere around 100 to 400 meters length, strip का length, depending upon the crop. Okay, so depending upon the crop, depending upon the soil, you can have any length between 100 to 400 meters, and the width should be 10 to 20 meters. So this is your field ditch or field channel. So ये higher end है, slope is in this direction, slope जो है तुम्हारा इस direction. So water will flow from higher end to lower end through gravity. Okay, so you will open the bunds, you will open the bund during the application of water. So ये तुम्हारा channel और ditch है. So here you will open the bund, यहाँ पर open करोगे, so water will enter into the strip, gravity से it will be distributed. Now you have to maintain a sufficient slope, otherwise water will not move quickly. And second thing is, जो gradient है, it should not be there sideways. So लेंथ वाइज देयर शुड बी इनफ ग्रेडियंट या स्लोप होना चाहिए, बट विड्थ वाइज स्लोप नहीं होना चाहिए. विड्थ वाइज इट शुड बी यूनिफॉर्म, देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी स्लोप. क्यों? व्हाई देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी स्लोप? सपोज ये यहां पर थोड़ा एलिवेटेड है, यहां पर डिप्रेस्ड है. सपोज this area is elevated and this area is depressed. Water higher end to lower end जाता है हमेशा. So water when you are distributing, सिर्फ ये वाला पार्ट गीला होगा, ये वाला पार्ट ड्राई रह जाएगा, है ना. ये एलिवेटेड रीजन है तो नीचे से ऊपर नहीं जाएगा ना पानी, ऊपर से नीचे आता है. सो विड्थ वाइज इट शुड बी यूनिफॉर्म. एलिवेटेड या डिप्रेशन एरियाज नहीं होना चाहिए, इट शुड बी यूनिफॉर्म. इफ देर आर if there is elevation or depression, water will accumulate in the depressed areas. So अगर ऐसा elevation है, इस तरफ depression है, ये depressed area, यहाँ पर elevated area है. So this area will remain dry. ये वाला area dry रहेगा, ये पूरा part dry रहेगा, ये पूरा part wet रहेगा. So again uniformity नहीं है. So width wise there should not be any gradient. Length wise slope should be in this direction. So this is border strip method. वाइल्ड फ्लडिंग और इसमें एक ही डिफरेंस है, यू आर डिवाइडिंग द फील्ड इनटू स्ट्रिप्स. ओके. देन चेक बेसिन मेथड. नाउ यहां पर जो फील्ड में डिजाइन है इट इज बिट मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स. जो बॉर्डर स्ट्रिप मेथड है उससे थोड़ा सा ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स है. यू आर डिवाइडिंग द स्ट्रिप्स फर्दर इनटू स्मॉलर प्लॉट्स. सो फ्लडिंग ऑफ रिलेटिवली लेवल्ड प्लॉट्स which are surrounded by borders is known as check basin. So you see wild flooding mein this was your channel, so you open the bund and allow the water to enter into the field. ये तुम्हारा wild flooding था. Next design was your border strip method. Border strip method में your field is divided into narrow strips and you will open the field ditch at multiple places. 3 जगह पर तुमने field ditch को open किया and water is allowed. चेक बेसिन मेथड इज अ बिट मोर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, जहां पर तुम्हारा जो स्ट्रिप है इट इज फर्दर डिवाइडेड इनटू स्मॉलर प्लॉट्स. ओके. सो डिजाइन इज बिकमिंग बिट मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स नाउ. सो इन दिस मेथड ऑलमोस्ट लेवल्ड लैंड इज बाउंडेड ऑन ऑल द साइड. सो स्लोप शुड बी देयर, बट स्लोप ज्यादा होगा तो एरोजन होगा. There should be minimum slope so that water will be distributed through gravity. So slope is in this direction. ये तुम्हारा field ditch है. So what you will do, you will open the channel here, you will allow the water. यहाँ पर भी open करोगे, छोटा सा बंड है यहाँ पर open करोगे and here. So water will enter from one plot to another plot and ultimately to the third plot. Okay, like shown in the second strip. Either last में what you will do, once you have irrigated, you will close this bund first. ये वाला bund को close करोगे, then you will close this bund and last में इसको close कर दोगे after the application of water is done. Okay, so individual plot में तुम different crops grow कर सकते हो depending upon your need. Different vegetables can be grown in individual plots. और जो ये bunds हैं, you can grow green manuring crop on the bunds also. You can grow green manure or any other fodder. Okay, this is check basin method. Now ring basin method, this is mainly used for orchard crops. हाँ, फ्रूट क्रॉप्स या फिर प्लांटेशंस के लिए कोकोनट, राइट, या फिर मैंगो या फिर सपोटा, फ्रूट क्रॉप्स के लिए यूज कर सकते हो. ओके, सो हियर यू सी द ट्री इज एट द सेंटर. यहाँ पर तुम्हारा ट्री होगा. लेट मी यूज अनदर कलर. सो द ट्री विल बी हियर. Okay, so here is your tree. Let me draw it again. So in orchard, the trees or the plantation crop will be having a minimum spacing, so 6 into 6, 10 into 10, depending upon the crop. Now here ये जो ring है, it is around your tree. इस तरह से ये तुम्हारा मेन चैनल है, वाटर विल बी फ्लोइंग थ्रू द मेन चैनल and from this channel it will enter into these rings. Okay, so each tree will be applied enough amount of water, so through these rings. Now sometimes when water is touching every tree and it is flowing throughout the field from one plant to another plant, एक tree से दूसरे tree में जब जा रहा है, तो sometimes if one tree is diseased, it may, the water may touch and the fungus or any other pathogen, bacteria, fungus है, through water it can infect other trees also. So उस केस में क्या करते हैं हम लोग, डबल रिंग यूज करते हैं. So this is one ring at the center, you have your plant, you have another ring here. So water is entering through here, but जो water है वो कभी भी plant के contact में नहीं आता है. Water will not directly come in contact with the stem of the plant. Okay, so the spread of the disease or spread of the pathogen will not happen. So directly जो stem है उसके contact में नहीं आ रहा है, water will flow through this ring and it will be applied to next plant. So कभी भी पानी तुम्हारा directly stem के contact में आएगा, तो double ring बोलते हैं इसको. This is called double ring method. So this is devised to prevent the spread of the disease. So this is specially used for plantation or orchard crops, ring basin method. So we have seen wild flooding. Partial flooding में complete field is not wet. The surface of the soil is not wet throughout the field. So part of the field is dry, part of the field is wet. So यहाँ पर furrow irrigation method is the example of partial flooding. So these are the ridges, इस तरह से, right? You can see it in the diagram. So this is the color. So ये ridge है, okay, and this part it is furrow, right? So you are applying the water in the furrows. So ridge part जो है वो dry रहेगा, furrow वाला part जो है वो wet रहेगा. Okay, again slope will be in this direction. Slope जो है it will be in this direction because gravity will allow the water to move from higher end to lower end. So ये part जो है तुम्हारा dry रह रहा है, right? You can see this part is dry and this part is wet. So partial flooding बोलते हैं इसको. So furrow irrigation method is the example for partial flooding. So in this method water is allowed to flow in the furrows, thus only a part of the surface is wet. Okay, so wild flooding, border strip, check basin, उस method में क्या है, entire field is made wet. So water is guided from upper end of the field to the lower end through the furrow spaced parallel at distance according to the optimum crop. So crop का जो spacing है, right? So you can see there is distance is maintained between the rows of the crop. So whenever we write the spacing, so we write it something. So suppose this is an example, 45 into 30 centimeters. जब भी तुम किसी क्रॉप का स्पेसिंग पढ़ोगे तो इट विल बी रिटन लाइक दिस. नाउ व्हाट डज इट मीन? सो इट मींस बिटवीन द रोस ऑफ द क्रॉप, यानी यहाँ पे देखो बिटवीन द रोज 45 सेंटीमीटर का डिस्टेंस है, एंड एक प्लांट और दूसरे प्लांट के बीच में 30 सेंटीमीटर्स का डिफरेंस है. सो बिटवीन द रोज 45, बिटवीन द प्लांट्स विद इन द सेम रो 30 सेंटीमीटर का डिफरेंस. सो दैट इज व्हाट 45 into 30 सेंटीमीटर्स मींस, राइट. इस तरह से प्लांट्स हैं एक रो में, ये सेकंड रो है. So between the two rows, the distance is 45 centimeter. Between the two plants within the same row, the distance is 30 centimeters. So row distance के ऊपर the furrow ridges and furrows का जो width है, the distance between the two furrows or the two ridges depends upon the spacing of the crop के ऊपर depend करता है वो, right. So this is your furrow method of irrigation. So surface irrigation methods we have covered. So again furrow में alternate furrow method वो सब भी हैं. Now in furrow method of irrigation, the water how it is distributed. Now suppose this is ridge and furrow, right. Now here is your plant, right, and this is your water flowing in the furrow. Now what happens here, the water will go down, gravity hai, water will be moving downwards, water will also move upwards through capillary action. So water will move in all direction through capillary force से. So root zone, यहाँ पर और एक furrow है, here there is another furrow. So water will be uniformly distributed and it will be available to the plants. So this is called as furrow method of irrigation. इसमें alternate furrow method, corrugation, surge irrigation, there are different modifications, but basic method is this furrow irrigation. Okay, so we have discussed surface irrigation methods. So this is all for this video. In the next video we'll discuss subsurface and micro irrigation. All right, so that will be all. Thank you very much.